Honkai Star Rail has been out for over a year and a half at this point, and in that time we've seen many characters being added into the game. That includes a free 5-star in the form of Dr. Ratio when he was released, and many free 4-star characters being given out during events. Today, however, I'll be focusing on the standard banner character selection, as we're given a chance at claiming any of the 5 stars from it. Some of you might have already chosen which character you want, but if you're still deciding like me, then I'll try and offer my thoughts on which characters might be best. So I guess it's only fitting that I talk about my experience with this banner and my overall thoughts of it. I think a lot of the characters that are on the standard banner are actually still viable in a lot of ways. Not to throw too much shade at Genshin, but honestly I think the standard banner in this game is definitely better than that one. But then again, Honkai Star Rail hasn't been out nearly as long, so maybe some of these characters will be overshadowed in the future. However, I think because Star Rail does have introductions of a lot of different in-game content modes, such as Pure Fiction for example, such characters like Himiko, which you get from the standard banner, unless you lose your 50-50, is actually really beneficial now, making it a character or also a light cone that I myself would love to get from this standard banner. As far as the characters go, I've actually been quite fortunate with pulling a lot of these from the standard banner, not the main one. If you've seen my account review that I did a few weeks ago, you'll know that I've actually only lost 2 50-50s, and thankfully that means most of the standard characters and or weapons have been obtained from the actual banner where they originate. The only characters that I'm actually missing out on from that banner is Yanqing and Bailu, which honestly at this point I really don't know if I would necessarily want them. Bronya was my first ever 5-star character that I pulled in Honkai Star Rail, and actually I've been very fortunate with her. I have her at E1, which is tremendously amazing for her because it gives you a 50-50 chance of not using a skill point. On top of that, I also have her signature light cone, which is amazing for a lot of supports. I've thrown this on Sparkle, and also if I do end up getting Sunday, this would be very beneficial for him. For some reason, Japard loves me a lot too. I have this dude at E2, but I honestly haven't used him in quite a long time. Although I don't have many 5-star sustains, I don't really think that Japard is that necessary because I have Fu Xuan, but I'm not going to discount him outright. Clara is the one that I actually have at E1, and although I've never used her too often, I would not mind getting E2 since that is a pretty substantial increase to her attack. Next up is Himiko, and while I don't have any of her Eidolons, she is definitely a character that I've used tremendously in Pure Fiction, making her a really high contender for a lot of people that either struggle with that mode or don't have her yet. And last but not least is going to be Welt. For some reason, I have 2 copies of this dude. I've pulled him so many times from the standard banner. And on top of that, I even have his signature light cone, which is crazy. So actually, if you look at it, this is my most invested standard banner character. I say that, but I don't have any of his light cones leveled up, and I haven't really worked on him much. But it's crazy that I've been given so much for this guy. So that pretty much leaves it up to, do I want an Eidolon for most of these characters, or would I like to have someone new like Bailu or Yanqing? Now I'm going to outright say that I think Bailu is probably the worst sustained 5-star in the game. I don't think a lot of people are going to argue that fact with me because we have so many broken ones. I'm not saying that Bailu can't be viable. I think the fact that because she doesn't have a cleanse in her kit, even 4-star characters like Lynx or Gallagher, which is a really amazing character that allows you to do damage, and if you have him at E2 you can use his skill to go ahead and cleanse, is a lot more helpful, especially for weakness break teams, than Bailu is. And as far as Yanqing, I feel like his damage fall off is a lot heavier. I don't think he's as strong as he was in the early game, especially with so many other amazing DPSs, especially for the ice typing. So that leaves 3 characters: Himiko, Bronya, or Clara. Now the reason that I think these 3 characters are probably some of the most solid options that you can't go without is basically how the meta is currently in Honkai Star Rail. As I said, Himiko is an amazing 5-star that is very useful and used quite often nowadays because of the implementation of Pure Fiction. It's a game mode where you really need to have erudition characters, and especially ones that can keep doing attacks without taking up a turn like she can. You can slot her into so many teams for it, and even this cycle alone, she's one of the most used teams for it. And we already know she has great synergy with the 4-star version of Herta, and with the 5-star one coming out very soon, who's to say they won't have even better synergy together? After that is going to be Bronya. Now this is a character that I think is still really amazing. When it comes to supports that give you a damage increase and an advance forward, I think she falls behind Sparkle and Sunday respectively quite a bit. However, I will will say this, if you aren't summoning for Sunday right now and you don't plan on it, then Bronya might be a solid option. Now, of course, if you already have Sunday, maybe you should choose a different character. If you only have Sparkle like me, Bronya is of course really good still, because Sparkle only gives you that 50% advance forward, even though her buffs are a lot stronger. There are still certain characters that Bronya benefits more than Sparkle, but again, if you have Sunday, this kind of offsets this. So if you don't plan on pulling for him and you're waiting for the 5-star Ting Yun and you want an advanced forward character, Bronya could still be a really good 5-star for you off the bat. And then lastly is going to be Clara. Now again, I said that I think the meta really caters towards these 5-stars in particular, because we've seen how amazing follow-up attackers are nowadays. Some of the strongest teams involve follow-up attackers, and while Clara isn't one of the strongest compared to characters like Fei Xiao, even Yun Li, who is similar to her in so many ways with the same typing, I think that Clara is still very, very good for a standard character, especially if you invest in her quite a bit and you have characters that go well with her. I'm looking at you guys that have Robin and that I don't, because yeah, she'll definitely make Clara hit very hard, especially if you have some other characters that pair well with her, like Topaz. And again, out of any of these three options, Himiko, Bronya, or Clara, they're very easy to get the grasp of, and you can definitely get good value out of them right away depending on the other characters that you bring with them. But by all means, go for any character that you need, or if you're lacking, if for some reason you don't have Gallagher or Lynx or any sustain for that matter. As for me, I think I've finally come to a decision with the character that I want to pull, and for me that's going to be Clara, just because I would like to finally have her E2 and to use her more, because I think she's so cool. So there we go. And I got my E2 for Clara, and I got 40 Starlight as well. That's another thing that is really good about doing this instead of picking a character that I don't own yet, because now I'll be able to summon even more for Sunday, which is who I really want. That's gonna do it for this video. I really wanted to take the time to talk about this because there might be some new players just jumping in. Now is a really good time, honestly, before version 3.0 and the 2nd anniversary in a few months. I think it's really amazing that they gave away a free 5-star right now, because like I said, these standard banner characters are still used quite often. There's a lot of people that either use them as their main, or in the case of a lot of characters that I didn't use at the beginning, like Himiko, they're really good now. As for choosing Clara, I think that's actually a really good option for me, just because I've been wanting to use follow-up attackers more. With Fei Xiao and Yun Li coming out, I've had so much more of an appreciation for that playstyle. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys chose down below, and if you agree with the characters that I think are the best suited for the meta right now. As always, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.